I think it's analogous to sex in that way, where it's not really a big deal, but if you do it on camera, it's a big deal.
Oh, you like that type of drug? I think I know a little bit about you already.
It's the greatest medicine ever created, and it's never bad for anyone, and it will solve all of your problems.
The following is a chat with one of my heroes, a huge influence on my life, a guy named Hamilton Morris. If you don't know who that is, he had this show called Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia on Vice. It was huge, very popular show. And he's just generally the drug guy. Like, there's really no one who even comes close to expertise in the field that he does. Now, I wanted to do a podcast a little bit different. So this isn't just a one-through talk like a lot of podcasts or chats. There's commentary throughout the video to give a little backstory, a little bit more context to certain things. And I like it, but please leave in the comments if you like it or if it's distracting and it fucks up the flow. I don't know if it'll land, so let me know. Without further ado, Hamilton Morris.
Oh my gosh, it's Hamilton Morris and the discount Hamilton Morris. This is awesome. Wait, have you ever watched one of my videos?
I've heard about your videos. I haven't seen them.
Ooh.
But Soren has told me that they're very good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're very actually kind of like discount you. It's like you, but less nerdy and more dumb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like I'll go into the chemistry of I just did a boner video, so PDE5 inhibitors, but I just make a lot of boner jokes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you take one of the PDE5 inhibitors?
Yeah, well, it was about the gas station boner pills.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So the video's what's really in them? It's oh my god, it has maca root. Oh my god, maca root gives you a raging boner. No, it's just PDI. It's just sildenafil.
Yeah.
So.
Or thiosildenafil, or.
Oh, is that like a RC of sildenafil?
Yeah, it's in a lot of those.
Really?
Gas station products, yeah.
Quick nerd interjection for people who don't know what RC is, because we do talk about it a little bit. RC stands for research chemical, and you can use it in a number of ways, but really basically, research chemicals are chemicals that are not really well known yet, and they're often made by getting a really popular medicine, drug, substance, and then slightly tweaking it chemically. For example, alprazolam or Xanax looks like this, but when you add a fluorine, you get a different compound called flualprazolam that feels very similar to Xanax, but chemically it's not actually the same, so it's called an RC. And that's what he's saying. He's saying sildenafil or Viagra. There's thiosildenafil, which is an RC of sildenafil. I think that's how you use it, I think.
There's actually an entire research chemical PDE5 inhibitor universe.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, I did a documentary about it that was never released for weird reasons. It was one of the most sus projects I've ever worked on.
You getting boners for an hour straight?
No, it was actually much. That's not even sus necessarily. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But no, it was much worse. It was there was a news show on HBO that I would make pieces for occasionally, and the producer of this news show told me that they'd been contacted by somebody at Pfizer and that we were being offered exclusive access by Pfizer of their anti-counterfeiting task force. And this is, so obviously self-serving from the perspective of Pfizer.
Because they want a story about how all this shit is terrible and you shouldn't be doing it. And
Right. So they want a story you have to be afraid of these counterfeit boner pills, although they didn't use that term, these erectile dysfunction treatments, because they could be deadly. So already a very weak argument. I don't doubt that someone somewhere has died from a counterfeit PDE5 inhibitor preparation, but it's clearly not a major public health issue.
The conclusion I have in the video is basically Viagra in other countries, I think there's other countries that are just over the counter basically.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
And so it's not really that dangerous, but the problem is the dosing is such a mystery on them. I've taken Viagra before, but when I take the gas station boner pills, it's a strong fucking dose of Viagra.
Yeah.
It's like I was having the worst heartburn for 2 days. Boners were lasting for literally in the video 4 hours.
Right. Which is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was one called Stiff Nights. That one was associated with a lot of problems.
Stiff Nights is the company name?
That was the company name. I can't remember if it was thiosildenafil or something related, but it was a non-FDA approved.
This is a bit of a nerdy one, and I don't want to get too into it, but generally speaking, when you add I guess what is the term, the functional group, like a thiosildenafil, when you add like, when you tweak it a little bit, like make an RC out of something, how often does that little tweak make a big difference as opposed to no difference?
It just totally 100% depends.
Really?
There's no way that you could make a generalization about what modification of a molecule does.
Okay.
It would totally depend on the molecule, the modification. There's situations where, for example, with phenethylamine, if you put a methyl group in the alpha position, you get amphetamine, and that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But if you put a fluorine atom on the 2 position of amphetamine, it's actually probably almost indistinguishable from amphetamine. It's about the same potency, about the same duration.
And is that just completely random, or can you actually somewhat predict that from just if you know enough chemistry? Like, oh, well, if you change that at this position, it'll probably do something like this.
It's certainly not random. It's a product of how the drug molecule interacts with the receptor site. In this instance, it would be the dopamine transporter, serotonin transporter, places like that, but it just depends on the site. And yeah, you can do docking experiments where you actually look at exactly how a molecule is interacting with different amino acid residues, and you can make informed decisions about like, oh, there's a pocket here that could accept a hydrophobic group, and that might actually increase this type of activity.
my God.
Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah. The funny thing is, like, I was within my, you probably can relate to this. Growing up, I was always the drug nerd of my family and my friends, all that, right? And then when I started doing YouTube videos, I got known as the drug nerd. And then when I got like a community behind me, I got drug nerds who would like follow my stuff or like in my Discord. Quickly realized I don't know shit about drugs. I am not even kind of a drug nerd comparably. My mind just does not go to that chemistry stuff in the same intensity as like you guys. It's like, I think for me, I'm more interested in ethnobotanicals, like doing stories like in Vanuatu about kava was like, that's like the height of my, like that is the drug that I want to chase. That is so fun.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no single way to be interested in this sort of thing. That's why I like the subject.
Yeah.
Is people would always talk about it like it was crazy. They'd be like, "Oh my God, that's so crazy." There was a guy who's interested in drugs, and it's like, why is that even remotely crazy? You'd have correspondents who are exclusively focusing on music or art or food or
Wine,
whatever. No one would bat an eye at something like that. So it just seemed like weird that people had marginalized something that is so clearly impactful and significant in our culture. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And so you can, dedicate your life to the medicinal chemistry of one class of molecules easily and still have infinite things that you don't know. Or you can be interested in the sociological, ethnographic elements of drug use or the economic aspects or the legal aspects or whatever.
Do you get like imposter syndrome when you're in certain rooms with, let's say, like certain types of PhDs or whatever, and like you're like, oh shit, like maybe I don't know enough about this subject? Is that
Well, there's certainly, it's not imposter syndrome if you're not pretending to be something that you're not. So it's not like I would go into a room of people who are specialists on like genetic taxonomy of Panaeolus species or something. I would just understand that I don't know enough about that subject. So it's not like I'm an imposter because I'm not claiming to know about that. But there are areas where I do know a lot, and that's because I've studied them extensively. And so there's no imposter situation there either, because I do in fact
know what the fuck you're talking about.
an enormous amount about certain domains, and it's mostly the ones that I talk about, which is chemistry of tryptamines and phenethylamines. Yeah.
I think that's kind of a problem that I think I need to work on a bit, is like silencing my ego, because people ask me a lot of questions about random drugs that they're interested in, and I think I'm a generalist, and so I need to learn to be like, actually, honestly, I'm just ignorant as hell. Like, I really don't know anything about this subject in the slightest bit.
Well, a lot of questions that people ask are also unanswerable. So it's not an issue of one's expertise. It's just an unanswerable question. Probably,
Like what?
Probably the majority of questions that I'm asked are unanswerable by anyone. They lack the structure or the information to make them answerable. Like, me and my friends took this this powder. It was kind of whitish, but also it had blue specks in it, and it almost felt like Roman or something. Like, what was that? And it's like, that's not an answerable question. It's not like, I'm not qualified to answer that. Nobody's qualified to answer that question. There isn't sufficient information to answer it responsibly. So all you can do is say that you don't know.
Okay.
So but then, and it's actually very rare that people ask particularly technically challenging questions anyway. Like, very rarely am I pushing up against the limits of my understanding of a subject. Most questions that people have are somewhat superficial, which is fine. So that's the other aspect of this. Like, maybe on my Patreon, where there's a lot of chemists and people that are interested in chemistry, I would sometimes do these Q&As, and those would sometimes get a little bit technical. But for the most part, people are looking for introductory level information.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this one's not even on here, but as far as dating, okay, I recently went on a date with a gal that I really liked. It was a really awesome date, and after the date, I told her what I did. I was like, yeah, I basically do drugs on camera, and I educate people about drugs on camera. And it basically, the whole thing kind of ended because she couldn't quite understand. Like, one of the videos I'm doing is like about withdrawal, where I put myself through withdrawal, and she's like, that is so risky. I don't know if I can be in a relationship where my partner is constantly putting themselves at high risk doing all these drugs and, doing all this kind of stuff. And I explained to her, I'm like, you're like, that's not the right way to look at it. Like, you're part of the people that I want to educate. But it's like, I'm scared that that's going to become a trend, especially just dating. Also, just with social media, being like a guy on social media and doing drugs on social media, it feels like it's going to get even harder. You got any insight to that, man? This is such a strange question. For backstory on this video or in this interview is not really much of a content. I didn't really think about it as like, how do I make viral content with Hamilton Morris? There's a bit of a backstory that's actually on my second channel. There's a video about it, about the conventional rap, blah, blah, blah. But some of the questions, especially this one, that I ask are not for what the people want to know, but really what I wanted to know, because I kind of saw it as like a talisman for my future, weirdly enough. Obviously, I see a lot of myself in Hamilton for a number of reasons, and I think right now my life is changing. Like, YouTube is growing. I got recognized at the convention 4 times or something, and that's really awesome. It feels amazing, and it's super exciting. Also simultaneously terrifying, actually legitimately really scary, and I'm really scared about what will it look like. And a lot of the questions that I asked them were kind of, brother, tell me my future, So I don't know. I don't know if you find that interesting. I just wanted to share that tidbit because you can see that I'm nervous in this, which I'm not usually nervous, but you can very clearly see I'm stuttering my words and it's interesting.
It's amazing to me how much people care. This is the interesting thing is I think it's analogous to sex in that way, where it's not really a big deal, but if you do it on camera, it's a big deal. And so, people seemed so blown away by the fact that I had done some drugs on camera, and it really represented a very small portion of the documentaries that I've made. At one point, I actually added it up because it was like, how much of the runtime of my show is me consuming drugs? And it was a minuscule portion. It was 5% of the show. Far more time is spent discussing chemistry or history or interviewing people or whatever. But despite it being the minority of the episodes, it clearly had a big impact on people, and they really noticed it.
Do you think that different personality types lends itself to different drug habits? Say people who are more prone to being into Xanax or whatever?
Oh, certainly. Absolutely, really? Yeah, without question.
What do you think, kind of someone who's into amphetamines, what kind of profile do you usually stereotype in your head?
I mean, the motivation for using a drug is usually reflective of a person's psychology. So somebody who's maybe socially anxious or feels repressed or uncomfortable might be drawn to benzodiazepines or something like that, or they want to feel more comfortable and extroverted. And somebody who maybe feels unproductive or as if they're not reaching their potential and could be doing more might be drawn to stimulants. And which makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you can almost like, if someone, without really knowing them too well, you can kind of like, oh, you like that type of drug? I think I know a little bit about you already.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's maybe a tiny bit telling if somebody is extremely, extremely into benzodiazepines. But also, it depends on so many other factors, because that could be the case when you started using them and then you just become dependent on them, and then at some point it's not reflective of your personality or your desires. It's just a form of chemical dependence that you're dealing with. Same thing with taking Ambien for treatment of insomnia, where you might have insomnia or not at the beginning of using it, but after a couple of years of using Ambien, you're definitely going to have insomnia.
Yeah.
Because you're dependent on Ambien to go to sleep every night.
Yep.
So is that reflective of a type of person? Maybe it's reflective of some type of person at the beginning when they start using, but over time it is less about the person's personality and more about their dependence.
Situation and all that.
I think this is such a fun thing that I like to play with in my head, where a person's choice substance can maybe tell you a little bit about them. And this is not really what Hamilton is saying, but this is kind of something that it's just fun to think about, where I grew up in a household with an alcoholic, and I feel like as I've grown up and I've went to AA meetings and all that kind of stuff, I've met personality types that are very alcoholic personality types, even if the person doesn't drink. But it's like, it's a certain look or feel that I'm like, that person likes alcohol, right? It's almost what someone chooses as their choice substance tells what they really want, whether they have it or not. Like, I feel like a lot of alcoholics feel like they lack confidence. They have like this chip on their shoulder, this like rage in them to prove themselves constantly. And alcohol maybe gives them that confidence that they feel like they need, right? You have to be careful with this, because obviously this is not really scientific. This is just kind of, it's almost like astrology, really, but it's fun. I think with psychedelic people, they're often into self-exploration in a certain type of way. I think with, as he explains, with benzodiazepines, people just might feel really on edge all the time and they need to unwind. And that's, often how like medicine, how they're like prescribed. And it's just telling. It's very interesting.
Okay. So my like, I think I'm drawn to naturally is opioids. Mm-hmm. What do you think that says? What does that say about me?
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't have a stereotype?
I mean, there could be stereotypes if you're experiencing physical pain. I mean, that's a common thing that people say, is that they have chronic back pain or something like that, and that's what gets them into it, or they're injured in some way, and that's what gets them into it. Some people describe feeling like as if it's a sort of loving embrace or something like that. And the obvious implication is that they feel some kind of loving acceptance that they were neglected.
Yeah.
Clocked. I got clocked there.
So, but that's, again, this is like a complete generalization. There's a million
100%. reasons
that somebody could do something, including one of the most unsettling reasons for me is because of a sort of self-pathologization, medicalization of one's problems. Like, this is actually what I'm most worried about somebody, is when they immediately medicalize their problems and say, yeah, I take Xanax every day, but I've got generalized anxiety disorder. This is a medicine for me. Like, yeah, I take Adderall every day, but it's not like that for me. It actually makes me really calm. It's not even a stimulant for me because I have real ADHD. It's not like other people. When I take it, it's just a therapy. It's just like someone with an infection taking an antibiotic. It's not. But the idea there is drugs are stigmatized in our culture, and people will criticize.
So you have to come up with an excuse for why.
So you come up with an excuse, and to legitimize it to others and to yourself, to say, I'm not just using Adderall because I'm stressed and insecure about not getting enough stuff done, and I can't concentrate, and my brain my mind has been damaged by excessive social media use, and I have no attention span, and I don't read books anymore, and everything is messed up in my thought processes, and maybe this will help provide some semblance of mental structure so that I can get stuff done in my like email existence or whatever. That's like a harder reality to contend with than, I just have this
ADHD.
neurological developmental disorder that requires daily use of amphetamine to treat. And I'm not saying that ADHD isn't real, and I'm not saying that nobody should take amphetamine, obviously.
No.
I'm just saying that the way that people frame their own motivations for using these things can be very telling. And can, I think, like I'm almost more comfortable when somebody, if they said to me, yeah, I took a Xanax because I'm just trying to chill, because
100%. I'm like, that's just honest and real.
yeah, and I'm stressed, and then I think, okay, all right, that's probably the reality of the situation. But if someone says like, oh, I need these to function every single day because of my disorder, I'm not even saying that is necessarily not the case, but I just feel more concerned for that person, because it's clear to me that they've created a very strong justification framework where
You can't have a conversation with those people. It's also, to me, when I hear that, I hear a lot of like the opioid crisis yet again. Like it's just people who are like, I have chronic pain, which a lot of people actually did during, like, a lot of people have chronic pain, but with the opioid crisis, it was just always used as their excuse for why they need 80 milligrams of Oxycontin a day.
Right,
you know?
right. And this was even not just patients, but also the physicians that were prescribing
Enabling them.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I think there was actually a legitimate philosophical question of what do you do with chronic pain? What is the appropriate, or if not philosophical, then medical ethical question? And obviously the conversation was being biased by propaganda that was being released by Purdue. But even with that understanding, I think it's still a valid question.
I think it's a philosophical question for sure.
Yeah, like if somebody wishes to use opioids, is that better or worse than being in pain all the time?
Yep.
Obviously, if it's going to kill them, chronic pain might be better, but it depends on the severity. If they're just overwhelmed by horrific suffering all the time, then maybe taking the OxyContin is better. It's just complicated. People want simple answers to all of these questions. And, for some of those people, doubtlessly, if they'd done physical therapy and Pilates or something, they may have saved themselves horrible suffering associated with opioid dependence or addiction. And with some of those people, they probably benefited from the opioids and everything in between.
As far as doing drugs for yourself, right? And I've kind of tried to be a little bit more conscious of this for myself. Recently, I've gotten into a habit for when I'm on camera, I'll take my Adderall. Now, I'm already prescribed Adderall, okay? But I tend not to use it just because it's hard on your body. It's amphetamine. It's hard on your body, right? It's hard on my body. But I find that when I'm on certain substances, it lends itself to certain emotions on the camera that are kind of less than authentic. I think sobriety often, like for me, lends the best personality and realness. Do you also find it for yourself? Do you ever have you ever had a habit of like, oh, the camera's on, Hamilton's going to take his dose of whatever to make him the right personality?
I mean, the reality of filming stuff is that it's very tiring.
Yeah.
And so it's not even necessarily about like a single performance. It's that the style of stuff that I do to this day, I've been making a lot of these independent documentary projects for my Patreon, and it's typical for me to work for 12 or 13 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I definitely use stimulants, absolutely. I also use them when I'm not on camera because,
Because you have to consistently be in a mood for camera, and it's the reliable way to get there, correct?
Well, everything, you're filming this and doing the audio, and you're doing this interview, and you're keeping track and making sure that it's still recording. It's a very mentally taxing process. And then if you're, in the most recent instance for me, also doing lots of chemistry and filming it and doing everything else, it's just tiring. But it's not because of the camera necessarily. It's just because of work. I actually probably used more stimulants when I was just writing than I do filming things, because writing I consider the most difficult in terms of the focus required to move through a extended writing project.
Yeah. How do you dose? Like, what's your dose? And like, do you do it once a day in the morning? Do you do
It kind of depends. At the moment, like today, for example, I took 200 milligrams of caffeine as soon as I woke up.
Okay.
And then before coming here, I took a small amount of Ritalin, maybe 10 milligrams, something like
10 milligrams. That's methylphenidate.
Yeah.
That's Ritalin's like what? That's like an 8-hour, 10-hour feeling.
Certainly not for me. It might be for a tolerant or a naive user, but it's probably closer to 2 to 3 for me hours.
Now, do you find that your emotions, like just on the day-to-day, are affected? Like with the boner video, I learned that like I got erectile dysfunction pretty bad because I was doing Adderall every day, and I was doing around 15 milligrams daily. Maybe I'd jump it up to 30 on like a hard work day. But that, brother, my boner was thick.
Wait, what was the question?
Do you find that it affects your body? Like, do you find that like I guess obviously you've decided that the drawbacks are totally fine compared to the benefits of taking it daily. But
Yeah. Certainly I can't really take Adderall or amphetamine and because the appetite suppressant effect is too strong for me.
Yeah.
And I will lose serious weight if I take it. It also causes abdominal pain for me, which is like
Sorry, Tourette's. Carry on.
yes, is that something you've experienced as well, or is that
Tourette's?
no the abdominal? I couldn't tell if it was agreement with what I'm saying.
Oh
or
yeah,
like
everyone thinks I'm like doing a bit.
yeah.
I hate Tourette's so much. I really do.
Abdominal pain, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I had hemorrhoids as well.
Oh Jesus.
Have you had hemorrhoids linked to Adderall at all?
No. And it's weird because other stimulants don't do it. The only other thing that does it is coffee, but not caffeine or tea.
With the stomach problems?
It causes, really severe abdominal pain.
Yeah.
But no amount of caffeine does this to me, and Ritalin doesn't do it. It was only Adderall and coffee were the two things that causes like just this feeling of like pain abdominally.
What other stimulants? So for my problem, what's Vyvanse? What's its chemical name?
Dex.
It's
It's
well, it
li-
metabolizes into
it's
dextro.
dextroamphetamine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I find that for whatever reason, even though I do believe it does metabolize into dextroamphetamine in the blood, correct?
Yeah.
I get really aggressive on Vyvanse. Like I'm an asshole. Do you find that as well? That certain stimulants might bring out like more of an aggressive, more angry, irritable.
Maybe a little, but no, not in a major way. I don't think.
Interesting. When's the last time you like went like a month without taking stimulants? I mean, that's a hard question. A month is such
Including caffeine?
that's a hard one. Fuck. No, I'm gonna give a pass on caffeine for a million reasons.
Yeah. I did a pretty extended period of abstinence a couple years ago, and it was possible. I mean, I was able to do it.
Yeah.
It's always one stressful project that brings me back. Same thing with nicotine, which I'm not using at the moment. But it's always like I hit a thing where I think like, oh, I really just seriously need to finish this thing.
Yep.
And I don't even care. It's actually worth it to start using nicotine again.
Yep.
So that's always like if I didn't have work that I wanted to complete, I could definitely not ever use drugs.
Yeah.
The major driver for me using stimulants is and always has been work.
Yeah. Which also kind of speaks, I guess, kind of to your personality type because you feel like you chronically need to work. Like you seems like you really enjoy working or rather have a drive to work constantly.
Yeah.
And I guess Adderall is speaking to your personality type in that way.
Yeah, not Adderall specifically, but stimulants. Yeah, I do. I enjoy that whole feeling of being intellectually, mentally activated and researching things and writing emails and getting deep into the weeds on different topics. That whole process is actually like immensely rewarding for me.
How does how does that affect your head?
Clout?
Clout.
Like
the clout of it. the fact that it's Hamilton Morris. The fact that, oh my, can I get a picture?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's nice.
You like it? Like, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that people like the work that I do, definitely. 100%. And particularly now because in the past I was kind of disconnected from the distribution of my own material, where I was working with various media outlets, which gives you this kind of weird detachment from an audience. Whereas if you're someone who's making things for YouTube or for Patreon, which is what I've been doing more recently, you're very much connected with the audience and entirely dependent on their support to make stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm genuinely grateful and very pleased that anyone likes anything that I do, because if they didn't, I wouldn't be able to make stuff.
It's true.
So
Do you ever, and I think obviously there's like a deep route. I just, hold up for the camera. I had someone just before this be like, oh my God, Mette Boucher, can I get a picture? I was like, oh my God, yeah, okay, sick. Obviously I'm super, super, super grateful, and also that moment felt amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's weird moments where I'm scared to tell, like I go to jiu-jitsu now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I train, it's a very big gym. When people ask me what I do, half the time, sometimes I kind of lie. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I just like do video stuff or I edit or something like that. Which is like, because I feel like sometimes people act a little different, and it makes me quite uncomfortable. You don't find that?
I'm usually pretty honest with people, and maybe it's just the way that I talk about it or something. I don't usually feel as if people are horrified by anything
horrified,
or scandalized by it. If
It's
anything,
more
I'm
about the
usually
positive.
surprised. Yeah. Oh, the positive.
That they'll like, some people will want to be your friends even more.
Oh.
And it feels almost like, that feels kind of shitty, you know? Like, now I'm like, I kind of want you to want me for my personality, not just my tits, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm okay with it. I mean, a lot of the people that I've met over the years, a lot of the people that I know because they saw something that I did and we became friends. And so I think especially if you're maybe a weird, introverted type person, or you have kind of unusual interests, it's very nice to be into something that is unusual and then have other people find you because they feel connected to it in some way.
You feel like not alone for once, finally, because you have like a community who's all behind. Like, you're into the same nerdy shit that I am.
Yeah.
For years, we never have that.
Yeah.
Being a drug educator, do you feel like when you go through addictions for yourself or dependencies, right? Do you feel guilty because you feel like, wow, I'm here to educate and show people how not dangerous these can be, while I'm simultaneously here having it hurt me?
I mean, no, because I'm not dishonest about those sorts of things. Like, it would be one thing if I were saying like, oh yeah, Ritalin, it's the greatest medicine ever created and it's never bad for anyone and it will solve all of your problems, and then was, like secretly injecting Ritalin and hating myself. But it's not like that. I'm usually pretty measured and cautious about describing the benefits associated with these things and acknowledge the potential harms when they exist, so that if I do or don't have difficult experiences of one kind or another, then I don't feel like a hypocrite or as if I've somehow misrepresented the nature of anything.
Yeah.
So, do I think ketamine has the potential to help people with depression? Definitely. I think the clinical evidence supports that, but not for everyone and not always. And I say that as someone who has used ketamine when they were depressed and had a really robust therapeutic response. And I've also taken ketamine when I was depressed and did not experience a therapeutic effect. Yeah. And as long as you're honest about those aspects of the experience, I don't think you have anything to hide. So you feel like you have
almost an obligation to talk about it because that's what I'm feeling right now, where it's like, oh man, I got a little bit hooked. I was doing Adderall every day, which I really don't like to do.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to tell on my YouTube video that I did that. And so I made a way to fit it in, because I was like, I want people to know that like, I think drugs are amazing for so many people in so many ways. I also know that they can absolutely ruin your fucking life if you play with them, just like anything. Anything can do that. Riding a car, anything. So I guess, do you feel like a pressure of like, I kind of want to tell people that I'm addicted to this right now or dependent on it?
Well, I don't have any secret use. So with maybe the closest thing to that would be nicotine, which I do feel conflicted about, but I'm honest about feeling conflicted. I'm not.
Why are you conflicted about it?
Because it is really very habit forming, and I am not convinced that the benefits outweigh the harms. Although I'm not. Yeah, I'm really
You
just
don't
not.
know.
I'm not sure. I think they definitely, after long-term dependence, you're getting very little out of it.
Yeah.
But I also do think you get something out of it with cautious, restrained, occasional use. But it's rare for people to be able to do that.
I haven't done it in weeks, and now you saying that, I'm like, oh God, yeah. But like a nice, like a little, like right now would just, that would be so nice. But then of course, then it goes down to the same habit, and then it's the same thing.
I mean, that's the whole seduction. Is the first time that you use it after a period of abstinence, it's usually really good. It's
Yep.
usually actually really good.
Yep.
Like, I've had times where I wrote an entire article in a single sitting because I was so focused after consuming nicotine. That kind of thing is amazing. You don't get that sort of effect if you use it every day.
Nope.
So is that nicotine's fault? No, it's my fault.
Yeah.
This is the other thing, is in general, I think it's misguided to blame drugs for drug problems. And that's, kind of a cultural, educational issue that is so prevalent. It's an uphill battle to get people out of that type of thinking. But ultimately, these come down to your own decisions, not the drug. It's you.
It's the rat park study. It's the happy rats don't get addicted to cocaine like that, but lonely rats do.
Yeah. There's that, and just how you decide to structure your use of these things, and how much discipline you're going to have, and understanding that even if something is enjoyable, it's not necessarily good for you, which applies to many things that aren't drugs, right? Yeah. This is like this. There's lots of things that are functionally equivalent to drug use but aren't drugs, including, I think, like comfort-oriented TV watching. It's like how
TikTok
different.
and-
Yeah, if someone's watching TV every day for 2 hours, how different is that functionally than being someone that smokes weed every day?
Now, if I want to represent the public, I'll say that same thing, and then they'll say, yes, but watching TV doesn't rot your brain or doesn't affect your body in a negative way. What's your response?
It very well might. I mean, it
true.
seems pretty well established that
To the same level as meth or Adderall?
It just depends. It depends entirely. Being long periods of inactivity, being sedentary, are all established to have negative cardiovascular effects. It's probably not all that intellectually stimulating, although it depends on what you're looking at.
True.
And obviously, drug use can be physically and psychologically damaging, but it can also be somewhat benign, depending on how it's done and who's doing it and why they're doing it. So it's just, there's too many variables to make any kind of generalization about what is better than what, because even things like exercise that are generally pretty good can, at their extremes, be damaging to the body and mind. So it just totally depends on the circumstances.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of want to ask that. What questions do you hate?
Superlative questions. What is the craziest? What is the best? What is the worst? What is
So you would not answer what's your favorite.
It's just not. It doesn't. I understand why people ask them.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's not. It just feels like a sort of. If I were to answer it, it would feel fake to me.
Because it's dumb. It's like it depends on the day and what I'm feeling.
Yeah, or like what is your favorite food or your favorite movie or whatever. Like I could answer those questions, but it's mostly just because it's easier to have an answer that you default to than to genuinely think about the question.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the superlative questions.
I give people the answer of, I was just asked this like probably 2 hours ago, and I said like it depends, like if you're talking about for public, I say like probably magic mushrooms for a lot of reasons. I think that's my favorite. For my own thing, powdered kratom. That's my favorite. Like that's my favorite. Brings me the most pleasure, I suppose. So at one point your show was like, what was it? It wasn't like the top show at like Vice. It was like was like Vice, right? And then you don't get as many views as you once did, right? How does that feel?
Well, I never was getting views on my own channel. I was making things for other networks.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's not that I'm not getting as many views. It's that I'm doing things completely independently. now.
But I guess it's like there's not as many eyes, right? When I've experienced that before, it hurt my ego. It hurt. It felt bad.
I mean, I'm not really surprised because the stuff that I've been making recently, actually, I'm kind of changing things now, but it's been less involved.
Yeah.
It's podcasts, which I enjoy very much, but a lot of those episodes that I was making when I had a TV show required a team of over a dozen people working full time to create. And now I'm making things completely independently. I don't have the same resources. I'm starting actually to make more intricate, sophisticated projects again that, I've been filming a bunch of documentaries that I'm very excited about. And, I guess depending on how those things do, then maybe I will have a better sense of but saying disappointed, a lot of these things had kind of clickbaity titles, or they.
Well, but to an extent, you kind of have to do that. if you
Sure.
want attention.
So it just depends. It's like, obviously, for me, what matters is making interesting things, and success is a means to an end, which is making interesting things. So.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I only care insofar as the more people that like what I do, the more resources I will have available to make good things. So if I finish these upcoming documentaries for my Patreon, one is about LSD chemistry, another is about this quest to introduce an element that's never been used in a molecule into a molecule for the first time.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And, if people like those things, that will be great for me because it will allow me to continue making stuff.
Are you going to post on YouTube as well?
Eventually, most likely, but they'll go on Patreon first because that's how I'm
Paying
funding
your bills and
funding the projects.
Okay. If you ever need YouTube anything, please contact me, Hamilton. Please, I'm begging you.
What do you mean?
If you need obviously promotion, if you need filming, if you need editing, I'm your guy.
Oh wow, that's very nice of you. Yeah. But I mean, it was crazy, the views on some of the early stuff. But it was just such a different time, different types of projects. I don't know that those are things that I necessarily would want to make now. That's the other thing.
Really, that exploratory. Like, it sounds like you're interested in chemistry. Like, you love chemistry.
Yeah.
Got it. Is as far as like the ethnicity and culture behind it kind of secondary to the chemistry for you?
No, I like it all. I like telling interesting stories. The other thing for me, I've always been aware that there's only so many things that can be done, and so, like, one example that I give is like when Ross Ulbricht was being charged with all these things. I was in the courtroom during his trial, and it was really, really interesting. But there were like 10 other journalists there, and at the end of every day, I would think, wow, there's 10 people that were sitting in the same room as me, on the same bench as me, writing the exact same things that we all were observing. What is the point of me being the 10th or the 11th person to report on this thing that everyone else is already reporting on? And so with chemistry, I am extremely interested in it. And there's actually like a pretty fucking amazing chemistry YouTube community. So I won't even go so far as to say there aren't people doing stuff, because there are, and it's good on YouTube only. The legacy in terms of like normal media, it's terrible. But that's like one thing that is incredibly good on YouTube is all this weird chemistry video making. It's like one thing that YouTube has really excelled at. But anyway, there are a ton of chemistry stories that no one else is going to tell. I would love to tell them. And so I do orient myself toward these projects that I feel like only I could do or would do.
Because it takes some sort of special amount of specialty. And yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Different strokes for different folks, man.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay. I think we're done.
I want to watch your videos, though.
I would love that. Please, I want input too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.